get you some money, you're gonna feel different.
Straight up.
You might even, all that other advice I could have gave you, this the short version. You know, get you a couple dollars, man. You're gonna feel different.
Next with Net Hustle. Big shout out to SPI, Spotter Low. You know, I'm in the black box. Had to come through, tap in, show love one time. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all subscribe. Stay tuned. All that.
Swamp Stories is calling Cap on a Cali rapper, man. When I looked at the thumbnail, the face first, I thought it was Blueface. I'm like, oh no, that ain't Blueface. And it was Cali rapper, so I'm thinking. Then I clicked. As soon as I clicked, I see it was somebody from the Bay. And the first few images, he looked like a mix between Blueface and damn, who was the other person? Pharrell. But he a Bay rapper. They call him Cap. Swamp Stories usually has an interesting style, entertaining style, to say the least. So I figure we'll tap in and see who he claims to be one of Cali's biggest rap Cap stories.
Welcome back to another short episode of Swamp Stories. For this one, we cover a major upcoming rapper in the Bay. One that if you listen to his lyrics is so grimy that you'd think he'd have 150 bodies under his belt. And for this reason, his career initially blew up. Kinda like, yo, do we have a King Von in the Bay? Well, in this video, I'm gonna answer that question by breaking down everything that's happened and examining all of his lyrics. Is it all cap or is it facts? You be the judge. But before we get into it, let me run the intro.
Y'all see the Blueface Pharrell?
As many of you know, Vallejo was one of the most dangerous cities in California. And while it was always grimy, it was never as bad as it is today until around 2015. For whatever reason, 2015 and 2016 is when all kinds of beefs began to kick off throughout the city. Of course, there's the major SOB-RBE beef with South Vallejo and West Vallejo, but there's also beefs that are smaller that people have no clue about. Smaller beefs that have completely gone under the radar. For this video, that's absolutely the case. And that takes us to the forgotten side of the city, East Vallejo, particularly the 200 block of Westwood Avenue. Just some somewhat rundown apartments behind a strip mall. Not Section 8, not projects, just regular apartments that are kind of falling apart. And even though it looks kind of grimy, back in the day, this was a much better place than the other hoods in the Bay. Whether it was West Oakland, East Oakland, Hunters Point, Sunnydale, North Richmond, all those places were much, much worse than East Vallejo. And of course, because of this, a whole bunch of hoodlums from these areas
Vallejo, that's 40 water.
Moved into the Westwood apartments. Just a bunch of random hoodlums from all over the Bay congregating in these one apartments. Apartments that have no history of beef with any other hoods or no street politics, but with all these new hoodlums, something was bound to pop off. We'll get to all that in a second, but for now, we must introduce the main character of the video. This would be a rapper named Lil Dame, who's originally from North Richmond, but when he was a kid, his family moved to Vallejo.
Oh, I ain't lie, it was just a lot out there, man. It's just, you know, that's the hood, bro. Projects, you know, nigga seen a lot, grew up around a lot out there, from everything. It was just a whole lot of shit going on. That's why my mama had to move me to Vallejo.
Okay.
So yeah, my pops really wanted to move me to Vallejo because he already knew the type of shit I was gonna grow up to. Because he already, you feel me, from dope, all that, he grew up in.
In fact, the North Richmond environment was so bad that Lil Dame claims that he robbed a house when he was 3 years old with his sister who was 1.5.
You've been getting in trouble since you was like really young, man. Can you recall like the first time you had a run-in with the police?
What the hell? I said in my last video.
Oh my God, no way, yeah.
He went a little too low for me, y'all. That's kind of young.
I was old, I think I was 5.
Yeah, I think he might get the Cap of the century story off top.
But my mama told me I was three when I, you feel me, broke into her friend's house.
3 years old?
Yeah, with my little sister. My little sister, she, you know, I don't know, she had a good mindset at 1.5, 2. And she doing the shit with me. You know, I push her little ass through the window.
Oh, yeah, he goofy as
We grabbing food, all that. You feel me? We ain't even looking for money or none of that.
Yeah.
Nigga had nothing to eat, so nigga steal some food.
Breaking in a house with your 1.5-year-old sister when you're 3 years old and taking a bunch of food? I don't know. Do you guys think that's real? Maybe at 3 years old, he was already on that. Or possibly
Hell no.
he's all cap. Well, after situations like this, his family decided to move to Vallejo, where maybe he could have a better life.
But he thought moving me to Vallejo was gonna change, but it's in me, so it wasn't gonna change nothing, man. I just will grow up to be the same way you was.
And for a couple of years after moving there, not much was going on. It was actually pretty quiet. But then, bullshit started to pop off. It's now 2016 in Westwood, and the hood has its first identity. They simply call themselves 200 or Murder Ye. And at this time, they're mainly represented by a rapper named Nicholas Howland, who goes by Faux Nick. But as you'll see, Faux Nick wasn't really much of a rapper. Instead, he was spitting something else. While beside him are his two best friends, Demarie and Tiquan, and together, the three originated the hood. But they've also got a couple of younger homies as well. Kenneth, also known as Max, and together, these are who make up 200. And as far as who they beef with, Sureños. Specifically the Sureños in East Vallejo, who are nothing to play with. So in 2016, when the beef kicks off between 200 and the Sureños, things instantly get tricky. First, the essays would claim the life of 200 Max as he was leaving Jesse Bethel High School. Then not long after, they'd claim the life of 200E as he's posted up on Westwood Avenue. This left a huge mark on 200, losing back-to-back members just like that. Now this forces the members to start living on the edge and get into savage mode. However, before they could even lock into the beef, they had their own internal issues and dudes just crashing out for no reason. And speaking of crashing out, you know what would have me crashing out? Not having money.
Oh, hell no.
But thankfully, that's why we got Free Cash, an app where you can earn money just simply playing.
Man, you took our shit, bud. Give it back, bruh. You backdoed us, bruh.
This is when Rio quickly grabs under a seat, and this alarms Faux Nick and Tiquan. Sadly, before Rio can even look up, they dump into his car. Bang! This tragedy struck East Vallejo, an area where this type of stuff didn't usually go down in. And because of this, quite a few witnesses would go to police and describe what they saw. A short Hispanic-looking man and a short black man walking up to somebody's window and unleashing. However, because there were no cameras in the area, police didn't have enough, and these two would go free. Well, at least for the meantime. But now let's focus back on Lil Dame. Dame was 12 years old when this happened, and because it was a Thursday at 1 p.m., I'd assume he was at school. However, these facts don't stop him from constantly dissing Rio and pretending like he did this.
Oh my god.
For example, in the song Op K, he starts off by saying, Rio died, smoked blood, he ain't even get to make the stretcher.
Rio died, smoked blood, he ain't get to make the stretcher.
Then in How It All Began Part 3, he says, Rio died trying to reach for his plastic.
Kill Rio, he got smoked trying to reach for his plastic.
You know, referring to the fact that Rio died while he was reaching under his seat. And if you listen to his music, which actually slap, he talks about Rio a lot. And he's dissing and pretending like he did that, even though I don't even know where to begin. First of all, Rio wasn't an op, and also Dame was a kid when this happened, so none of this makes any sense for him to rap about. But don't worry, this is only the beginning of the cap. And if you listen to Dame and you hear Rio, this is what he's talking about. Just pretending like he did the things that his big homies did back in the day. But let's fast forward another couple of months. Just a few months after this backdoor tragedy, the 200 guys are back at it again. On December 23rd, 2017, 200 Demarie would get in an argument with a man named Eric Green, a random 40-year-old man that he happens to run into at Dunphy's Tavern. Long story short, Demarie gets into an argument with Eric and his brother, and sadly, he whips out on them. He targets them both inside the bar, leaving Ian injured, and sadly, leaving Eric deceased.
Damn.
A completely random, tragic situation, leaving a 42-year-old injured and a 40-year-old man dead. Yet still, 7 years later, Lil Dame manages to rap about this like he had something to do with it and like Eric was an op. Like, what? So if you're ever listening to Dame's music and you hear him bragging about the death of Eric or E, this is what he's talking about. What the fuck? Anyways, Demarie gets arrested, and this brings police attention back to 200. Like, what are these guys doing? You had a random murder on the block, and then another random one at a bar. What is going on with these guys from 200? Regardless though, just 3 weeks later, things would get spicy again.
200 had it cracking out there. Say what you want to say.
January 13th, 2018. It's a Saturday afternoon on Westwood, and Faux Nick is posted up outside with two friends. 200 Faux Nick, 200 Steven, and 200 Deshaun. These three together is a dangerous combination. Well, at 2 p.m., a man happens to walk by walking his dog. A San Francisco native named Coy Lacy Jr., who happened to have moved into the Westwood apartments. Well, as he's minding his business, walking his dog around the neighborhood, Faux Nick and his homies are alarmed. Why? I don't really know. So out of nowhere, when Coy isn't paying attention, Faux Nick and his homies whip out hammers and they begin chasing him down. Hearing the approaching footsteps, Coy's dog gets alarmed and starts barking. So Coy turns around, notices them, and he begins to sprint for his life. He attempts to hop a fence, but sadly, this is when the 200 members began unleashing.
Her young father was shot down in broad daylight over the weekend. KTVU's Deborah Villone is at police headquarters where
He finna claim something about to have something to do with this body. Ain't got nothing to do with it to her. He's crazy.
investigators are giving his killing high priority. Deborah?
Well, Frank, it happened less than 2 miles from this police department in central Vallejo, 2:30 in the afternoon. And police say there doesn't appear to be any mutual combat. The victim was unarmed and walking his dog after work.
Coy was a father, loved his kids. That's all. He was a father, just living life, trying to raise his voice.
Loved ones of 29-year-old Coy Lacy Jr. stepped from this house in Vallejo, a house full of grief, his mother's home, where he set off Saturday afternoon to walk his dog. But when Lacy didn't come back,
started calling, and he didn't answer.
That's when they feared something was wrong. Only later did the family learn Lacy had been gunned down about a half-mile away. The FedEx delivery driver was a father of 2 sons, the oldest 6, the youngest almost 2.
It's gonna be tough for him. Gonna be tough.
As far as I know, he was just out walking his dog, and he ran off as they were firing at him.
Shot several times, Lacy collapsed as he tried to run into a backyard. He was rushed to Kaiser Hospital where he died.
Another awful tragedy targeting yet another innocent man. This marks 2 murders of innocent men by 200 members in the same month. So when you hear Lil Dame bragging about 2 Bs in 1 month over and over in his music, this is what he's talking about.
Fuck Rio, fuck Coy, fuck Rio, fuck Coy.
Well, after this, the lackluster Vallejo Police Department would finally put things together and began investigating 200 Westwood. In just a few months, they'd put everything together and indict the whole
All his music did was help the investigation. That's crazy.
200. Faux Nick would get 18 years in prison for 2 murders, and the rest of the members would get 21, 24, and 27 years for each 1 murder. Now, how did Faux Nick only get 18 years for 2 murders when his homies who only got 1 murder each got much more time? Some say he told, but truly, we don't know. Either way, that's not here nor there, but what's important is that this pretty much marks the end of 200, with 2 deceased members and 4 in prison. That's all they really had to begin with. Literally just a crew of bums targeting random civilians.
They was 6 deep, kicked up some dust, and it was over.
So thankfully, Vallejo police would shut it all down and there would be no more 200 to damage the streets. So in a perfect world, police did their job, everyone got locked up, and 200 is over. But no, years down the line, Lil Dame comes out, repping 200. And not only this, bragging about the murder of Coy Lacy Jr.
Fuck Rio, fuck Coy, fuck Rio, fuck Coy.
A murder that he had nothing to do with, of an innocent man that had nothing to do with anything. Dude, you were 12 when this happened. Let's dive into the lyrics. Well, no, other than Rio, Coy is actually the most popular name that you see in Dame's lyrics. He talks about him a lot. For example, in his song How It All Began Part 1, he says, "Sent Coy home, that's why y'all really mad. Now let's talk about the funk." Then in How It All Began Part 3, he says,
Sweet Coy died, niggas acting what happened. Trying to really just a fishery, bro, letting him have it. The corner's just on advice that we did do traffic.
So yeah, you get it. The point is that he likes to rap about the things that his big homies were doing when he was a kid. And you know what? His big homies who are doing decades in prison for this are not happy about it. Don't ask me how I know. Like, damn, little bruh, stop LARPing off our work that you had nothing to do with, bruh. But believe it or not, the LARP actually continues. So as I've covered in previous videos, the major beef in Vallejo was the Crest side also known as SOB, beefing with Shred Money and a clique called 100K. Now, as far as Lil Dame's hood 200 Westwood, they have nothing to do with this beef. Or at least they didn't. At all. Zero. Nilch. Zilch. Whatever the word is. In fact, it wasn't until 2022 when Dame started hanging out with the dudes from the Crest. And that's how he inserted himself into their beef. But still, this doesn't stop him from rapping about the Crest's ops' deaths. For example, in his lyrics you hear 100K and SCO a lot. And who that's referring to is Justin Esco, a man who died in Oakland in 2020. Basically, Esco had a major beef with the Crest because of a loss of one of their important members, and this was Get Back. Well, long story short, a man from the Crest will get 71 years in prison for this. And as far as Lil Dame, he raps about it like he did it, despite the fact that he had nothing to do with it. In How It All Began Part 2, he says, "Sco, we filled his body up with hella holes." Like, bro, stop LARPing. This has nothing to do with you. Then in How It All Began Part 3, he says, "Fuck Sco, we hit him with 100+. So if you're ever listening to Dame songs and you hear him dissing Sco or 100K, just know he wasn't even around when this was happening and it has nothing to do with him. Trust me. But I fear that the LARPing over the Crest's work that has nothing to do with him and happened before he even knew them is not done. In fact, he disses all the dead people that the Crest killed before he even clicked up with them. But the worst of them all, an innocent mother.
Vallejo police, meanwhile, are investigating after a woman was shot and killed. Officers responded to a parking lot on Fairgrounds Drive near Highway 37.
Basically, a 15-year-old from Shred Money pulled up with his 34-year-old mom to the Crest to confront somebody, and unfortunately, they unleashed on both of them.
What was she doing? Even taking her son to deal with some bullshit like that.
This horrible tragedy shook Vallejo, and as far as how it relates to Lil Dame, well, it doesn't at all. In fact, he was just 14 years old when this happened, way before he clicked up with the Crest. So realistically, he didn't even know the people that did this, because they're no longer here with us either. But yeah. But either way, this sadly doesn't stop Lil Dame from dissing this woman and pretending like he did it or had something to do with it. Honestly, I was going to put the lyrics of Lil Dame dissing her, but if you hear Camille or 10 Milli, that's what he's talking about. So every time you hear talking about dissing 10 Milli or Camille or Millie, that is what he's talking about. Not anything he did, not any ops. Fuck. But anyways, to cap off the video, let's recap everyone that Dame claims to have done.
The big homies don't like it, like the little homies don't give up. They loved it.
Done something to in his lyrics, but had nothing to do with. Firstly, the murders that occurred when he was just 12 years old of Rio, Eric Green, and Coy Lacy Jr., 3 people who had nothing to do with anything. Of course, as we know, everyone who was involved in this is in prison for it. Then after this, constantly dissing all of the Crest side ops, the ones who died in 2020 when he was just 14 years old. This would be Esco and Rez, the 2 people he's constantly talking about, but has never met, and they didn't even know he existed, I promise you. Then the most tragic one of them all, dissing the mother who passed away in the Crest. But on top of this, even dissing her 15-year-old son who died later that year. Something that Dame had nothing to do with either. He didn't know him, they didn't know each other. I'm getting angry. But anyways, do you guys think that this is the biggest cap rapper ever?
He might be right up there with the runners, man. I don't know if I heard a bigger cap story than that. I don't know why somebody want to unjustly associate themselves with taking lives. Guess it's just the time we live in. Oh, my mama.
Get you some money, you're going to feel different.
Straight up.
You might even, all that other advice I could have gave you, this is the short version. You know, get you a couple dollars, man. You're going to feel different.
Hey, Nip Hustle. Big shout out to SPR, Spotter Low. You know, I'm in the black box. Had to come through, tap in, show love one time. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all subscribe. Stay tuned. All that.